Good day, everyone. Eric from Helps Law Firm for Seniors. Good to have you here today on June 11th, 2025. My name is Eric Olsen, attorney now for 46 years, the founder of Helps. Helps is a national law firm that two missions. Number one, we protect seniors from debt collector harassment. Number two, we educate seniors how to maintain their financial independence. And I'm glad to have you here. Looks like I've got a moderator, and Sunset Cliff is my moderator, which is great. Thank you. If you have any questions, put them in the chat feature, and I'll try to address them. And you can always choose to call us if you want, 855-435-7787. And after we're done with the video today, I mean, even during the video, our phone lines are open. And press the like button and subscribe to our channel. Good to have you here. And so I think the title is something like inaccurate information given to financially beleaguered seniors. It's really a problem. Okay, I found an article earlier today from a company called Upsolve. Okay, now Upsolve is a nonprofit company that was started several years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, and they got someone to finance them. And what they do is they help people to file bankruptcy, do-it-yourself bankruptcy. It's not that easy. I'm not sure how many bankruptcies they do file because it's pretty complicated. I filed between 30 and 40,000 bankruptcies before Helps was started, so I know a lot about bankruptcy. And a lot of seniors simply don't need to file bankruptcy. You can't afford to file bankruptcy. It's a headache to file bankruptcy. Sometimes bankruptcy can, like Brer Rabbit, get you in a briar patch. It could be a mess for you. But there's an article they republished on May 22nd. And I had to write him a letter, the CEO for that company, because I was a little disappointed. I'll just show you the article for a second. It's a typical example of how seniors aren't given the complete information. But I would expect that this company to have done a better job of it than they did. So here it is, debt relief for seniors, financial aid options. Talks about the problem, talks about bankruptcy, non-exempt equity, types of debt and bankruptcy. Okay, talks a little bit about bankruptcy. Okay, but this article is oriented towards seniors. Okay. First off, my major problem with the article, and I'll come back to it and show you some details in a second here. It never says anywhere in the article that your Social Security and your pensions are protected. No one can take it. And that there's a cease and desist letter. You can stop the collectors from harassing them. No, it doesn't say that. What does it do instead? It tells seniors, well, you can file bankruptcy or you can go get credit card debt counseling, debt consolidation, debt settlement, debt, which is essentially debt management. And they even give links. Okay, and here's the rest of the article. By this lawyer, John Cable, and they're both bankruptcy attorneys. They're young guys, it looks like. But nowhere in the article, I read 3 or 4 times to make sure, nowhere in the article do they ever mention the fact that, that your income is safe and no one can take it. And you don't need to worry about a bankruptcy. And you don't need to worry about debt management. Instead, this company steers people towards bankruptcy or debt management, okay, or debt settlement, without letting them know that their income's protected. Now, I can understand why debt management companies withhold this information from seniors because they do it for their own financial interest. If they told you your income was protected, you wouldn't sign up with them and they wouldn't get paid. And the other thing is they're supported financially by the credit card industry. Credit cards donate money to the nonprofit debt management companies. That's how they get paid. Now, I don't know, maybe Upsolve is getting money for, I don't know. And so I'm going to read you the letter that I wrote him. Okay? And sent it off a few minutes ago. Now, I don't know if I should do this or not, but sometimes I just get irritated. Okay. I said, hi, Jonathan. I was disappointed to read an updated article from Upsolve, May 22nd, 2025. Debt relief for seniors financial aid options. I've been an attorney for 46 years and filed around 30 to 40,000 bankruptcies. 10 times more than he did, that's for sure. While the article was largely factual, what concerned me what wasn't included. I'm aware of Upsolve and what you do. I have referred some persons to Upsolve and have a preloaded email with your contact information. And then I go on to say almost 15% of seniors live under the supplemental poverty line, and nearly 1 in 3 seniors, I think it's more than that, have incomes below 200% of the federal poverty level and are considered economically insecure. These are the seniors more likely to have debt that they can't afford to pay. These are the seniors who would more likely read your article, and these are the seniors that I work with. And then I go on to say around 40% of seniors rely on federally protected Social Security as their main source of income, and almost a quarter survive only on Social Security. With few exceptions, they don't need to file bankruptcy. And many are not technically savvy enough to file bankruptcy, a do-it-yourself bankruptcy. Debt management companies, which he's telling people to consult with, are supported financially by donations from bank and credit card companies. They have a conflict of interest that is never disclosed. They'll never tell you that. They'll never tell you that that's who they get paid from, that they have a prearranged agreement. If they collect money from someone on debt management, they get to keep a certain percentage as a donation. They have a okay. I talk to seniors every day, put into utter poverty, making payments to nonprofit debt management or debt settlement companies for debt they can't afford to pay. They are rarely told that their Social Security and other retirement incomes are protected by federal and state laws and doesn't need to be used to pay debt they can't afford to pay, or that there is a means to stop unwanted collector contact. And this is the case with your article. A lower income or poor widow would read this article and think her only option was to call a debt management company or file bankruptcy. They're never told the most important fact, that your income is safe and protected, and your assets for that matter. I don't expect a response to this email. I kind of doubt he'll write me back. No one likes to be told that they're wrong. But I wanted you to be aware. I can understand how a debt management company would withhold this information for its financial benefit. Shame on them. But I would like to think Upsolve could provide more complete information. Sincerely yours, Eric W. Olsen. So that's what I wrote. And hopefully he feels a little guilty. Maybe they change the article. I doubt it. I've done this with 4 companies. They just ignore me. So Freedom says, Eric, thankful to be on my Section 8 in Illinois, a miracle 4 years ago in the making. Being a veteran manager said got me here 2 years earlier. Your landlord letter helped. Good. Yeah, we have a letter. We call it a landlord letter. We'll give it to anyone, whether a member helps or not, and it explains to a prospective landlord that your Social Security is protected, so is your pension. Even though you may have negative entries on your credit, your money is always available to pay your rent. And we want you to, you can contact us. We'll send you that letter. And then I talked to a guy a few minutes ago, and actually from Osceola, from Alaska. And I'll tell you about this one right now. So he was actually a client. He called. He said, when I enrolled in HELPS, I had a credit card I wanted to keep. It had a pretty big balance, but they immediately lowered the credit on my credit card. But I've been paying it, and it was like over $400 a month. And he still owes about $12,000 on the credit card. He says, I just simply can't afford it anymore. It was a mistake. I should have included it when I enrolled with HELPS, but I didn't do it. I said, well, don't worry about that. You can include it now. And so he included it. And then I told him, I looked at his thing. I said, you could rebuild your credit. And he didn't know anything about that. We have a program called 7 Steps to a 720 credit score. We don't do it ourselves. I contract with 720 credit score, Phil Tyrone, and we pay him money each month to give this to our clients that have been part of Helps for 90 days. And I told him, I said, you can rebuild your credit within a year and a half to 2 years. And I sent him that email. So if a lot of clients don't care about rebuilding our credit, but some of them want to. Okay. Um, so Marion asked, I don't, I think if I don't know what you're asking me at the beginning, but if your only income is Social Security, you're not required to pay income taxes. And if you don't pay credit card debt, you're not going to have to pay. Sometimes people get what's called a 1099-C and they think they're going to have to pay taxes on their old debt. No, if your only income is Social Security, not so. You don't need to worry. Okay. We have emails that talk about 1099-C, and if your income is Social Security and you have a little bit of extra money, like a pension or something, it's less than $12,000-15,000, you're probably not required to file taxes. And if you got a 1099-C, no. I mean, even if you were required to file taxes and there was a problem that you owed taxes because of a 1099-C, you can qualify to get on income or currently not collectible status. So no, you shouldn't have a problem with that, Marion. I did a video with my former partner from 2 years ago on May 9th that you can, February 9th, that you can look at on YouTube Live. Miss A says, I want to know if this has anything to do with cease and desist letters being sent out. My credit report says 5 of my credit cards were paid off. Will that be from the charge off that took place this year? Well, I don't know why it says they're paid off. It should say that, they're charged off. Maybe you're just misreading the quote or the credit report wrong. Yeah. So Roberto asked, if my credit card company sees me and gets a judgment, can they take money out of my account that is meant to replace my roof from tornado damage, which is from my insurance company? Well, if you were sued and someone's going to get a judgment against you and you had a lump sum cash laying around somewhere, yeah, it's probably protected, but I'd be telling you to get it out of the bank and put it in another place where they couldn't get at it. Remember, twice the amount of your Social Security or federal benefit deposited in your checking account is protected automatically from garnishment, regardless of what funds are in there or where they came from. And a lot of times there's state laws that protects life insurance proceeds or maybe even property damage proceeds. But if the account was garnished and someone had a judgment and your account was garnished, they could hold up the money and could be a headache getting it out of there. So it's better just to keep it out, but you don't need to worry about it unless you were sued. And then if you're sued, you'd have plenty of time to get it out of there, put it in another place. You put in a cashier's check, cash in the under the mattress, postal money orders, wherever. It's easy to protect that money. How do you find out if there's a lien on your home? Well, as a mortgage, you would know about that. But if there's a lien, we're talking about a judgment lien. in most states, not all states, a judgment becomes a lien on real property that you own, normally in the county where the judgment is taken. Okay? But a lot of times that lien is meaningless, like I've explained. Like you could, in Florida, Texas, California, you can still sell the home, get the money out of it. I mean, we talk about that a lot. So, and I talked to someone earlier today. He owned the home with his wife, and he was older than she was. And I explained to him, I mean, even if you get sued and they get a judgment against you, are you planning to keep the home? And he says, yeah. And you own it together with your wife? Yeah. But you're the one that owes the debt, not your wife. He says, that's correct. Well, if you pass away before your wife, which is statistically more likely, then at your death, the property is going to go to your wife. The judgment lien drops off, and she didn't have to worry about that. Okay? So we talk about this. We explain this to people. Okay? If a credit card company charges off a debt, do they continue collection procedures? Well, they usually at that point they're going to turn it over to a debt collector. So that's one reason why our helps our assistance is ongoing. So if we have 5 people enrolled in helps, maybe 1 is being sued, 3 or 4 are behind on their debt, and maybe 1 out of 5 is completely current on everything. Doesn't matter where you are. So if you're completely current on everything, yeah, these creditors can, we still send a cease and desist letter out to the original creditor. But when they write the debt off, they're going to turn it over to a debt collector. And you may get a letter 6 months from now, a year from now. If that ever happens, you get a notice from a new debt collector and you're a member of HELPS. You get us that information. We'll send a cease and desist letter out to that new debt collector so they leave you alone. See, that's why our help is ongoing. It's not just one time. We're literally you're our client forever. So if you ever have a problem, you pick up the phone and you call. If you get sued, you call us on the phone. We're going to need a copy of the lawsuit. And we're going to send that letter to the attorney who sued you, letting them know that your income is protected. You can't afford to pay the debt. We understand they're going to get a judgment. You don't need to go. We'll call you, send you emails explaining why you don't need to go to court, why you don't need to worry. Okay? I'll probably talk more about that as we go on today. So yes, they do. They can continue collection proceedings. Maybe less likely if someone reads it and says, "Oh, this guy's on Social Security. It's kind of a waste of our time." But they handle these in volume, so they may just put it in a package with a bunch of others and send it to a new debt collector. Bottom line is you don't need to worry about it. Okay. So I talked to this sweet lady earlier today. She was a HELPS client. And I put down terrified client. Because it appears that someone has come up to her door 3 different times and she thinks she's being sued. And I told her, you probably are. And she was just scared to death. I explained to her, I'm not laughing at her. I'm just saying, I told her, I said, you do not need to be worried. I said, you don't have to make it easy on them, but if you want to open the door and take the paperwork, you can. You're going to get us a copy of it. We're going to send a letter to the attorney that sued you. You're not going to have to go to court. Her income was like $2,400 in Social Security. And I said, do you ever have more than $4,800 in the bank account? She said, never. I said, well, if they get a judgment, they can't touch your bank account. Your bank will automatically protect twice the amount of your Social Security without you having to do anything. I said, you don't have to accept the paperwork but if they open the door and they give it to you, then take it and get it to us. You do not need to worry. You don't need to worry. I told her, I said, here's my hand. I said, it's not even worth lifting your little finger to worry about that lawsuit because they can't do anything to you. Now, no one wants to be sued, I guess. No one likes to have someone knock on the door and give us legal papers. And I understand If it's the first time for you, that can be more stressful, but that's what helps us here for. And I told her, I said, you call us anytime. Well, she was feeling really good by the end of the conversation. And I told her, I said, now, if you start worrying again, try to remember this conversation and how you felt at the end of the conversation, then everything would be okay. But if that doesn't work, then you pick up the phone and you call. We don't care if you call us again over and over again because you don't need to worry. Okay? Brian asks, how does a judgment creditor find out your bank account information other than a debtor's exam? Why did you say that word, debtor's exam? I don't like that word because it's so rare, but it just scares people. You don't need to worry about a debtor's exam. Okay, but the only reason they would find out, there's no place they can go to find out where you bank, unless you bank there a really long time, and maybe they have a they have it on record that you had this bank at one time. A lot of times, sometimes I'll get a call from someone and I'll find out they got a writ of garnishment, and I'll have to drill them out. Well, who was garnished? They can't tell me. I said, well, look at the paper. Look. Finally, they'll tell me that, well, Wells Fargo. I said, do you bank at Wells Fargo? He said, no, I banked there 10 years ago. I said, well, that's why they garnish Wells Fargo thinking that you still bank there. Okay. But once again, it doesn't matter if they have the right bank account. Twice the amount is protected automatically by your bank, regardless of what monies are in there or where they came from. Okay. So this person contacts us from Ohio. Please help me. I've got over 6,000 in credit card debt I can't possibly repay. I only have Social Security as income. Can you please send credit card bank a cease and desist letter? Yeah, we're going to call this person up and talk to them about their situation, and we can enroll them and send letters to their creditors so they're going to leave this person alone. That's what we do. We represent seniors and disabled persons who owe debt in order to stop collectors from harassing them, and so that peace comes back to your life. 855-435-7787, or look at our website, www.helpsushere.org. Okay? Kat asks, if you have more than double the amount protected in your Social Security, and you're checking from Social Security and it's over because you're not spending it, can that be taken away to pay the unpaid debt? The answer is no. It can be temporarily held up. Twice the amount of Social Security or federal benefits deposited in your checking account is protected automatically by your bank. If you have more than that in there, and it's from a protected source like Social Security, that excess is also protected, except you have to file paperwork with the court called a challenge to garnishment or claim of exemption to get it released. We occasionally need to do that, help our clients do that. We don't have to do that very often. Okay? Go. This person contacts us from Pennsylvania. Can the debt you cannot pay be reported to Social Security as income and put you in overpayment status? I think I may have talked about this yesterday. That was a confusing question. The person didn't know quite what they were asking. They may have been trying to ask a question about, if I don't pay my debt, will I have to pay some taxes? But if you don't pay your debt, it won't have any effect on your Social Security. You'll still get the same Social Security. Steven says, I'm getting lots of email collection messages as opposed to phone calls. If I hit the unsubscribe link, will it escalate their collection efforts to lawsuits? I don't think it has anything to do with it. I don't think it has anything to do with it, to tell you the truth. It's just like debt collectors are like throwing mud at the wall. They do everything they can. They want something to stick. They want to get your attention so that you call them on the phone. And they don't have to tell you your rights. They don't have to tell you that your Social Security is protected and your pension. All they have to tell you is we're a debt collector and any information we obtain can be used for that purpose. That's all they have to tell you. So you can just delete the emails or block them, whatever. So this person contacts us from Florida and they say they have need advice on 60,000 plus in credit card debt. I'm 82 and my wife is in her upper 60s. My only income is Social Security, and the husband has a small retirement from the job. And they have an account with a debt settlement company and they don't feel comfortable with it. Well, I would guess if you got 60,000 in credit card debt, you got to have a real high payment or debt settlement payment. You don't need to be with that debt settlement company or debt management company. When you enrolled with them, did they tell you that your income was protected, that no one could touch your Social Security or your retirement? No, they didn't. Why didn't they tell you that? Well, if they would have told you that, you wouldn't have enrolled with them and they wouldn't be making money off you. As far as the debt management companies, they have prearranged agreements with the banks and the credit card companies. If you make a payment to them, they get to keep a certain amount, percentage, 10, 20%, whatever it is, as a donation from the credit card company. And they don't tell you that. They have a built-in conflict of interest. So we're going to tell this person, they say they need advice. They're from Florida. We're going to say you can stop paying the debt management company. Your income is protected. You don't need to worry about it. You give us your creditors you owe money to. We're going to send a cease and desist letter, going to leave you alone. Now, if you're enrolled with a debt management company, you can call them on the phone right now and cancel. And ask them to return the money to you. Whatever they're holding, whatever they haven't spent. And they'll do it. They should do it. Once in a while, I've told people, I said, ask them, I said, when I enrolled with you, why didn't you tell me that my income was protected, that my Social Security was safe? I've been cutting back on my medicine, or I've been cutting back on my food, my heat, or my utilities to pay this debt, and you never told me. Why didn't you tell me that my income was protected? And see what they say. I got a feeling that a lot of the little guys, people that do the enrolling, they just read a script and they don't understand the law. But I guarantee you there's the uppity ups. They know the law. And one thing they want to do is they want to avoid seniors ever finding out that their income is protected, because if they did, it would cut a substantial amount of their business out. But you know it because you've been listening to me. Okay. When Ms. H asks, when a statute of limitations is 5 years in my state to be sued, okay, that would be 5 years from the date you last made a payment or when the debt was incurred. Depends on the state, but usually it's the latter of the two. After that, can the debt collectors or the credit card company continue to try and sue again? Would that be against the law? Yeah, that would violate the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Now, it's not against them the law. It's not against them. It's not against the law for them to still try to collect from you. They could still call you. They could send you demand letters. They just legally can't sue you or threaten to sue you because they're not allowed to do that. I've had a number of clients tell me that they've had someone call them on a 10-year-old debt and they say, we can't sue you, but you still owe this money. We want you to make arrangements to pay it. Okay. Yeah, different states have different rules on garnishing bank accounts. Yeah, or garnishing wages. I'm not aware of a state that has a law that prevents them from trying to garnish a bank account. There are some states that have laws that restrict their ability to garnish your wages. Okay. So this person contacts us from Georgia. He said they happened to see us on YouTube. She happened to sign up with some debt management company which was a law firm. And she was upset. They told her that her Social Security is a risk, that it could be garnished. And so she's making payments of almost $400 a month. Sent her an email about debt management companies and told her to learn more about us and then call back when she wanted to get more information. I I kind of wonder, I asked her, I said, are you sure that they told you that your Social Security could be taken? Oh, yes, Mr. Olsen, they told me that. Well, that would be wrong, and obviously wrong. It can't be taken. And someone was not being truthful with you. And she was a little upset about that. Not at me, but that she was being told an untruth, especially by a law firm. But I've heard it all. I've heard it all. Does the money debt management company have to give the money back? Good question. Well, if they're holding money for you, they do, and they invariably will. Sometimes they'll try to take their fee. You know, I would love to sue these companies once in a while or do a class action lawsuit, because if they don't tell seniors the complete truth, I mean, I think they could be sued and they'd have to regurgitate some of the money that they've been paid. I've had people harass these debt management companies. I haven't seen it lately, and asking them for a refund of fees. And sometimes they've been successful in doing that. We don't do that. We don't get involved in that. But a person could, contact them and say, listen, uh, I enrolled with you a year ago. I paid you $2,000 in fees. You haven't done anything for me. And you never told me that my income was protected. They could complain to the Attorney General's office, or if it's a law firm, they could complain to the Bar Association. So some people, but a lot of seniors don't want to get involved in that kind of process. It can, they just want to cut their losses and get away from them. And that's what I'm telling you. If you're involved with debt management or debt settlement, check us out. You don't need to be involved with them anymore. They can't collect from you if you're on Social Security or pension. Your income's protected. Uh, you can stop paying them. Okay. Okay. This person contacts us from Washington. I was doing okay until 2023, until I lost income from a small business. He says 30 out of 37 clients left and went to my competition. Then my transmission went out on my car. It's going to be 4,000 to 5,000 to fix it, so I bought a new car because at the time I had good credit. Largest payments I ever had on the car in my life. It's tough to swallow, and after losing the income, I'm in a hot mess. That might be a good title for one of our YouTube live videos. Our senior in a hot mess with debt. This guy was in a hot mess. He signed up with national debt relief. I keep laughing about all these companies, these debt management companies. It's like the newest, it's like the great business to get into. Help people, help scam seniors by opening a debt management company, accredited debt relief, Green Path, they have these nice names, Christian debt relief, this one was national debt relief. Now, when they signed up with them, did they tell them? Did they tell this guy that his income was protected? They couldn't take anything. The creditors couldn't. No, they never told him that. He says, I signed up for national debt relief. However, I'm not able to make the 291 month payment they want. And that doesn't even include all the debt that they're supposed to be helping me with. Well, you don't need to pay it anymore. Call Helps. We'll go over this with you. When you enroll in Helps, you're going to give us the creditors you owe money to. We're going to send them a cease and desist letter. They're going to leave you alone. You mentioned that someone needs helps that was not in the same area of that state. Is the people in every state that works with? Yeah, we help people in all 50 states, in a lot of different countries. U.S. citizens in different countries. Doesn't matter where you live. This morning, I didn't talk to too many people this morning, but I talked to people from Georgia, Florida, Alaska, and I think California. Homestead exemption in Pennsylvania is $300. Very discouraging. Well, there's a federal exemption too. You're not going to lose your home in Pennsylvania. I've been doing this a long time. We got tons of Pennsylvania clients that have homes that have been sued. I've never seen anyone lose their home yet to a creditor because of like a consumer credit, like a credit card debt or something like that. Elaine, it doesn't happen. And it could be stopped if they tried to do it. Okay. There's a lot of reasons. Maybe you own it with someone else. So no, you call and talk to us. And you're right, they do need to be upgraded, those numbers. Talking about the lawyers and paralegals, Eric, don't have people in other states that work with you. Well, okay, so what Helps does is we represent people under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act in order to stop collectors from harassing them. We don't represent people in court, so we don't need to be a member of another bar association. And we don't give legal advice, we give legal information. So that's what we do. We represent you, let you know your income's protected, write a letter to collectors you owe money to so they have to leave you alone. If you get sued, we give you information on why you don't need to go to court and why your income's protected, why you don't need to worry. So, no, we don't have to have attorneys in every state in the union if that's what you're asking. Now, we do have attorneys all over, but not everywhere. This person contacts us from, I don't know where. Their only debt issues with an RV that she's upside down on. It was about 90,000. Husband passed away a few months ago. She can't afford the payment, and no luck in getting it sold. So I don't know if this person, but I saw a few notes. Question is, if you have, for example, an RV, and let's say you owe 90,000, but it's only worth 40 or 50,000. will a bank or lender or credit union, whoever, will they let you sell it for $40,000 or $50,000 yourself? Um, or are they going to insist on repossessing it? Well, technically, they could. You could sell it yourself, and they could let you do that. But as a practical matter, that'll never happen. I just don't see it happening. You you could type that question on the internet, and they'll say, yeah, it's possible, but it's really difficult to do. No, they're not going to do it. And if they did do it, you're still going to owe the difference. But the reason is, who at the bank and credit union is going to make the decision that they're going to allow you to sell that RV for less than what you owe on it? If I'm working at the credit union and I make that decision, then all of a sudden my boss calls me and says, "Hey, you let this person, you let him sell this RV for $50,000, but our records show that it's worth 60 or 70. Why'd you do that?" No, you're not going to find anyone that's going to take the responsibility. They're going to insist on repossessing it, putting it up for auction, and maybe selling it for $20,000 or $30,000, less than what you would have got off of it. Okay. And that same thing goes for a car. They're just gonna want to repossess the car and sell it at auction. It's just because you're not. No one's going to want to take responsibility for making a decision to just let you sell something for less than what's owed. Yeah, if I originally have been monthly payments to my creditors automatically deducted from my checking account before I joined Helps, wouldn't they obviously have my banking? Yeah, they would. Sure. That's how they find out if they've got that information. But once again, you know, if you're sued, as long as you keep the balance in your bank account less than twice the amount of what you get in Social Security, it's protected. You don't need to worry about it. So Jose says, "Thank you, Eric, for removing that mess from my shoulders. Haven't worried about my creditors since I talked to you. No, not worried anymore." Thanks, Jose. That's what we do. And if you're one of those people out there that still has that mess on your shoulders, you be sure and call us. I don't want you to have that mess on your shoulders anymore. Now, if you want to keep paying it, you can. We always tell people that call us, if you have a credit card with a small balance and nothing is owed that you still want to keep, you can still keep that credit card. But you're going to be fine. This person contacts us from Arkansas. "I have medical debts in collection. I have a credit card debt. I have tax debt. I have 2 vehicles I return and now in debt. Old AT&T bill, old Infinity bill." Yeah, that's all what we deal with. Doesn't matter who it's owed to. This person contacts us from Washington and says, "I took a reverse mortgage to remodel my condo. However, I was out of control with my credit cards and now I don't have enough income to cover all my debt." Well, you'll be fine. Your condo should be protected in Washington. They have a pretty good exemption. You don't need to pay it. Okay, I'll try to get through this one. It's a long one. I received a letter today. Notice to obligor of levy against account. It says I have 10 days to respond. I'm disabled on Social Security disability that started in April 2025. And he says, I've had a long history with the Iowa Department of Revenue, state tax collector. Then he goes to tell about the problems he had with the state that they billed him for something that he wasn't liable on, and they finally talked to someone and they relieved it. Okay, you don't owe this money. We made a mistake. They had transposed some numbers. Okay. And then he says, after the mistake was cleared up, Iowa Department of Revenue returned my money to me. I think you know where we're going with this one. Okay. I believe all was satisfied. Years later, a change in auditors or something. It stated I had a past due account. I tried to explain and clarify it. It was a typo, and it was cleared, and my money was returned. They wouldn't listen. I thought Iowa was a nice state. Do you think they would? But they said they didn't listen. The auditor I dealt with no longer was there, or in a different position. Here now with a letter coming and no one listening. Thank you for reading this long story. There is more information, but now I need your help. I'm completely lost and unsure about what steps I need to take. They sent me with a little. They sent it with a little time to scare me. We'll call your office tomorrow. Again, thanks for reading. I hope it is clear and concise. That was pretty clear and concise. A little bit wordy. That's okay. So let me explain. That's what I'll tell this. We'll tell this guy. If you owe money to a state tax collector, whether you owe it or not, or they say you owe it or don't, you don't need to pay it. They can't touch your Social Security. They can't touch your pension. Twice the amount of your federal benefit deposited in your bank account is protected from a garnishment by a state tax collector, just like it would be if someone got a judgment against you, a credit card company. Your bank will protect it. Okay? Now, that's not the case with the IRS. The IRS can offset 15% of your Social Security. They don't go after people's bank accounts, especially seniors. They don't do that. But you can get on currently not collectible with the IRS if you have modest or lower income. But with a state tax collector, you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to pay it. Okay, they can't collect from you. So, I mean, this guy could run himself ragged trying to argue with this Iowa Department of Revenue why he doesn't owe this money from 10 or 15 years ago, whatever it was. Or he could just ignore it. What am I going to tell him to do? It's up to him, but obviously ignoring it would be the easiest thing to do. Unless he enjoys dealing with the bureaucrats, because they can't do anything to him. His income is Social Security. It's protected. He doesn't need to worry about it. Yeah, I did television commercials. When Helps was new, we started in 2012, did it for the first 3 or 4 years. Maybe even did it for 5 years. Didn't work. Didn't work. I mean, we got a few calls, but wasn't worth the money. We tried newspaper ads. We've done everything. You know what's the best form of advertisement for seniors? You're listening to right now, YouTube Live or YouTube videos. At some point, I expect that, you know, I kind of think Helps is like this little black charcoal. Okay. I was a scoutmaster for 25 years. I've started a lot of fires. And once in a while, you'll start a fire and, it'll be smoldering there. Okay. And then once it gets hot enough, boom, it'll pop into flame. That's what will happen to Helps someday. When enough people find out about Helps and what we do, because a lot of seniors need our help and they don't know about it. There's a concerted effort to try to keep this information away from seniors. And you've heard me talk about it before. But once, I suspect at some point in the future, someone's going to call us, it's going to get national news, or someone's going to realize, hey, this 40% or nearly half of seniors that are economically vulnerable and who owe debt, they don't need to worry about the debt. They can be protected from collectors harassing them. And you can help by sharing what Helps does with others. We ask you to do that. So this person contacts us from Texas. I love some of these notes. He says, we're getting Social Security monthly checks, but we're also getting daily collector calls. Okay. Our lease is soon to expire, and we're worried about our credit rating scores, and that we won't get approved for a new rent elsewhere. Plan to pay off outstanding debt once able to sell late parents' properties. And so, I don't know, if your parents leave you some money, using that to pay your old debt might not be exactly the smartest idea. I don't know if your mom and dad wanted you to leave you their money so you pay your old debt. I think they'd probably leave you your money so you keep it and have it available to help support yourself in your old age. As far as your credit rating, I already talked at the beginning of this. We have a letter called a landlord letter that explains to a prospective landlord that even if you have negative entries on your credit, all your income is going to be available to pay your rent. And you can rebuild your credit too. We have a program for that, like I've explained too. So you should be fine. Okay. A lot of our clients don't care about rebuilding their credit, but those that do, you can do it. So the time is ticking off. So this person contacts us from New York. Uh, just watched you on YouTube. So much great information. I am 64 next month, and I'm all alone. I'm a widow. My husband passed away several years ago. Everything is so expensive now. I have a car that I pay almost $500 a month for, and I still owe like $15,000. And it's probably not worth that. I feel like I can't get ahead. I only drive the car once a week. So it's costing her more than $100 to drive that car once a week, every time she drives. Then there's the insurance too, inspections, gas, maintenance. I need help to discuss whether keeping the car is a good idea or not. It might not be a good idea if you only use it once a week. I can't pay it off anytime soon. You don't need to pay it off. You can just stop making the payment and let it go back. They're going to sell for less than what's owed. They can send you a letter for the difference called a deficiency. If you're a member of HELPS, we're going to send a letter to the lender saying you're not going to pay it, and that's it. They can't do anything to you. They could sue you. They can't collect from you. You can let the car go back. I pay all my bills on time always. It's so very stressful. But you mentioned letting the company take back the car. On one hand, that's terrifying to me. Uh, it shouldn't be because they can't do anything to you. Your income is safe. You'll be fine. Um, on the other hand, I can feel so much relief it would be to have to make that car payment. I do make a decent amount in pension and Social Security, but my rent is $1,300 a month. And I try to save money by doing all these little things that she described. I have 3 credit cards. Thank you for what you do. So, we'll call her back and talk to her. Um, yeah, you can let the car go back. Nothing wrong with that. Now, what are you going to do about transportation? I mean, if you're driving once a week, Uber or Lyft might cost you $25 or $30. If you're just going to the store or doctor or something like that, you're going to save $400 or $500 or more when you count in insurance you're going to save and all that extra, maintenance and everything else. You could possibly consider saving up for a less expensive car that you're going to pay cash for. We have an email called, you know, affordable transportation that talks to seniors about transportation issues that we can send you. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a raise in Social Security, Jolie. I mean, there'll be your annual raises by inflation. Okay, how are we doing on time? Oh, wow. So my next two are really long. So looking at the time here, I just may call it quits for the day. It's Wednesday. Um, so if this is your first time watching, thanks for watching. Please press the like button, even if you watched this before. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do that. Please consider sharing what we do with others. Uh, and if you have any questions about your case, be sure and call us 855-435-7787. 855 helps us or helps US. And we'll be glad to answer your questions. Bottom line is you're going to be okay. So everyone have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. There's a chance that another attorney from Helps will be talking to you tomorrow. Bye.